a change my mind. And I want to make it clear that this is not a value judgment on how good a player Odell Beckham is, because when Odell Beckham is healthy, I still believe he is as good as practically any receiver in the NFL. But I think it cannot be overlooked that Baker Mayfield has just flat played better since Odell left. And my theory is that sometimes some quarterbacks need to be the number one guy on their team. Some of them just do it naturally, and others may have a little more difficulty with that. And it feels to me like that has been the scenario here in Cleveland. One way or another, I think it is just inarguable that Baker Mayfield has been better since Odell Beckham went out. Dominique Foxworth, do you want to change my mind?
So first of all, it's hard to argue with the numbers, but you understand that just because there is some correlation, that does not mean that that is the cause. Like, it's impossibly hard for me to imagine that a team is better without a more talented player. And my assessment of that, it reminds me a bit of the Carson Wentz situation, where some people suggested that drafting Jalen Hurts impacted Carson Wentz so much psychologically that he was bad. Now, so if you're arguing that having possibly one of the best receivers in the game on your team, and whatever his personality is, it's so big that your quarterback can't handle it, that it makes him bad, like that to me suggests, it says more negative about the quarterback than it does about the receiver. So it does, I find it hard to believe that Baker Mayfield, a guy who's out there and brash and attracting all this attention and seems to thrive on the trolling, that Baker Mayfield is intimidated by Odell Beckham's presence so much that he forgets how to throw the football. Like, I feel like there are a lot of other reasons why Baker is playing well, and maybe Odell being out is part of it, but it is the tiniest part of it. It's not worth us giving it the credence that I feel like you're trying to give it.
I think you just took what I said and attached a lot of words I didn't use. I didn't say intimidated. I didn't say that he wasn't terrible and then became great. But I do believe that your initial point is right. Is there a correlation or is there a cause? That is the question we're trying to get to the bottom of, and it feels more and more to me like it is the cause. Desmond Howard, what do you think?
I put it to you like this. This is the holiday season, right? So you have toys as a child. And then during the holidays, you get a special toy. Well, you get this new toy, and the inclination is, I want to play with this new toy. I want to try it out. And then you don't really give a lot of attention to your old toys. That's Odell Beckham coming to the Browns. So you get this transcending type of talent. This guy is a guy who the offensive coordinator says, when I'm game planning, I got to work him into the game plan. We got to get it to him. And so the quarterback is saying, okay, I got this new toy. I got to get the ball to him. I got to, feature this guy. When he's gone, now everything is more balanced. Now you can play with all your old toys. Everything has more harmony and things go smoother. So now with Odell Beckham Jr. out, they're a more balanced offense. You don't feel as though you need to force the ball to a particular receiver. Now you got Travis, you got Peoples Jones,
Jarvis
you got
Landry,
everybody else who now you can throw the ball to, and you got a great running game too.
Right.
What do you think,
you guys are making slightly different arguments. And Greeny, I'm certainly familiar with having your words mischaracterized. So I'm sorry for that. That is something that we all are aware of. But I would say that you're making different arguments. I don't think the numbers necessarily support, and I could be wrong. I'm sure Himbo will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the numbers support that they were forcing the ball to Odell Beckham when he was out there. And Greeny, you're arguing something different, that it's about being the man in the room. And I'm not sure what psychological impact it's had on him. That's the thing I'm not willing to accept. I may understand that maybe the offensive coordinator is stressed by trying to figure out how to get the ball to Odell Beckham, and maybe they have a more well-rounded game plan, but they weren't over-targeting Odell Beckham throughout the course of this. And again, I'll go back to my original point. If somebody's personality becomes bigger than yours in a room as a quarterback, and that's enough to impact your play, I think that you're saying something more about the quarterback than you're saying about the receiver.
Or you could just have a quarterback who came in and wasn't playing well and had been struggling and heard extraordinary criticism, maybe disproportionate to how badly he was actually playing, because he made himself such a target by being so brash and by having all the commercials and planting a flag and winning the Heisman and being the #1 pick and all those things that come with it. And so all of that negative attention is out there, and it is difficult for him to take over the room, to be like, all right, guys, follow me. I'm the man, and I'm going to lead us where we want to go. Now, again, I'm just supposing doing all of these things. But it does make sense to me because anyone who's ever been around Odell Beckham, who was a brilliant player, knows that when he's in the room, a lot of the attention is on Odell. That's just the nature of who and how he is.
I mean, I love all of Odell's brashness. I love all his commercials, and anyone who says that because he's not playing well, he should stop that, should shut up. But that argument you just made suggests to me that it's better to have Odell Beckham on the team, because Odell Beckham is then that lightning rod. Odell Beckham is the guy we're talking about doing these things off the field and doing these things on the sideline, and we are superimposing all these thoughts on Odell Beckham that we have about other people, and Odell Beckham attracts that attention. I would argue that having Odell Beckham gives Baker Mayfield the space to focus on these other things, because when Odell Beckham goes out, you know who we blame? We don't have that easy scapegoat of pointing at the diva wide receiver. We blame Baker Mayfield. So I would argue that your point, like it doesn't make sense to me necessarily. You want that lightning rod there. You want that attention grabber.
I don't know where Dominique is going with this, but I just think they have a more balanced offense now with Jarvis Landry, Peoples-Jones, the running attack. I don't know about what Odell Beckham does off the field, how it affects Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has a strong enough personality that he's going to be who he is. He showed us that when he was in college. It has continued when he's in Cleveland with the Browns. With or without Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield is still going to be Baker Mayfield.
Okay, well, let's leave it there. It doesn't. Maybe you guys have changed my mind. It's something to throw around. It's a good discussion. We'll continue to have it. Meanwhile, let's run the hurry up through a bunch of other storylines that are out there. Graziano, I'm coming back to you. What is the latest on Matthew Stafford?
Matthew Stafford has an injury to his rib cage area. It's not fractured ribs, but he is in pain and discomfort, and a lot will depend on how he gets through the practice week. Stafford has a history of toughing out injuries, but this one could be difficult. It may be that they need a backup quarterback to start for Detroit this weekend. More optimistic in Washington on starting quarterback Alex Smith, who suffered a calf injury in Sunday's game. They believe he will be able to do some work in practice this week. Obviously, they're always going to be careful with Alex Smith, the leg injury, given the history. But they believe he has a chance to play this weekend. Obviously, Washington trying to, continue to try and put away that NFC East. They're in first place and in the driver's seat there. So obviously, they hope Alex Smith can go. He has been playing well. And then in New Orleans, Drew Brees has missed the last 4 games with those fractured ribs. There had been some hope that he could come back this week against Kansas City. That hope is not completely gone, but it doesn't sound like the Saints are leaning that way. Again, we'll find out if Brees can get on the practice field this week, maybe get himself into the conversation about starting this week in Kansas City. But the rumblings there indicate that he may need another week before he's ready to come back.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Again, that's in some ways the game of the season as they take on Kansas City. Okay, it is now time for one of our favorites of the week, the wood-based pun. D. Wood, every single week we seem to change the name of your segment.
This is knock on wood, damn it.
Taking them to the woodshed.
Greeny, how is that possible?
Firewood.
Your soul is mine.
This week it is the wood pile, chopped wood.
Excuse me?
Sour wood. The lights shine brightest, of course, in Hollywood is wood-fired turkey. Damian Woody is going to call someone turkey.
Perfect distillation of how stupid TV is, and I love it.
And so this week's wood-based pun is D. Wood is going to say, I wish someone would. And so, D. Wood, the floor is yours. Who are you wishing today?
Oh, Greeny, I wish someone would tell me how the Saints went into Philly and let that one and gave it up. Because when you look at the New Orleans Saints, they were down in the bayou. Everybody had bags of beignets watching that tape of the Philadelphia Eagles on offense. Was like, dog, you see these boys out here? This is who we got to go up against. And they changing quarterbacks. Oh, we about to go into Philadelphia and put in that work. Oh, but boy, did they sleepwalk into a monster on last Sunday. Listen, the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts, all he did was go out there and had over 100 yards passing and 100 yards rushing. Greedy, the New Orleans Saints gave up two players with over 100 yards rushing. They haven't done that since 1980. 1980. They've been on a streak of 55 games where they haven't given up 100-yard rusher, and they went out there and allowed the Philadelphia Eagles, led by Jalen Hurts, to put over 400 yards of offense. Greeny, that is just awful. Got to put the New Orleans Saints defense on blast because you want to get to that bowl down in Tampa. Come on, dog. Y'all got to do better than that.
Now, Dominic,
I'm still laughing. I'm still laughing from I wish somebody would. Like that is perfect. That might be my favorite so far. It's like an homage to Cedric the Entertainer. It is the best thing. They better not be sitting in my chairs when I get there, D Wood. I tell you that much. I wish somebody would be sitting where my seat say 1 and 2. That's both ours.
Hey man, I wish somebody. Hey, listen, I wish somebody would. That's gonna be the new segment. That's gonna be the new one. I wish somebody would, because I'm telling you, I like that. I like that one. Greeny, was that your idea?
It was not my idea, and in fact, it already was the new segment, so that's extremely well done. And I must say that the drama that is built by the delay on D. Wood's internet is just fascinating to me. Can I ask one serious football question that comes out of that, which is, did anyone, Neek, did anyone raise a serious question about the Saints coming out of that game? We talked so much about what the Eagles did right. Did it make you question just how good that Saints defense actually is, Neek?
I think for a moment, if you look at the team, so the Saints defense is playing really well now. They weren't playing well at the beginning of the season, but they've gotten somewhat lucky with the teams that they've played recently. Like they played a team where the quarterback was a wide receiver the day before he walked on the field. And then they played this team that had a quarterback who was a rookie and getting his first start. So it's not as if the Saints have been all that tested right now. So I think that's a question. But the big question is at quarterback, not necessarily that defense. I think the defense is going to be all right. The big question is what they're going to do at quarterback and if Drew Brees is able to get back anytime soon and when he comes back, if he's going to be close to the person that he once was.
Well, you just touched on that, Graziano, a moment ago. What is your sense? Are the bigger questions right now in New Orleans about the ability of Brees to get back or about whatever questions were raised by that defense last week?
Yeah, I mean, that was a bigger upset than Brian Sipe being the answer to that trivia question earlier, which is saying something. But we'll honor that from here on out with the new pocket square. Look, in New Orleans, the concern with regard to Brees is his health, right? Like they put him on the field and he re-injures himself. I mean, that's a big problem. Those were serious internal injuries he was dealing with. So that's a separate issue. In terms of, who plays quarterback, I know Dominique was making the case earlier for Jameis Winston because of the explosive ability. I think that would be a surprise at this point for Peyton to go away from Taysom Hill to Jameis Winston. But right now, those are separate issues. Brees